guys, welcome to my newest video for today. For today's video I'm going to be doing my movie and TV show wrap up for April 2022. I also have one graphic novel to talk about because I've decided with these wrap ups going forward, if I happen to finish reading a book or graphic novel in this month, then I will also talk about that in the wrap up because I don't read as much as I used to, so I figured just do one massive wrap up and of all the things that I've read and watched. So I'll just quickly start with the graphic novel that I've read, and I read Batman 80 Years of the Bat Family. So this is a compilation of stories that were published in various 80th anniversary like 100-page issues, and then also I think Detective Comics. There's also some ones from stories from Detective Comics, like when they had 1,000 issues, and yeah. So some of these I had actually read before because I've read the Detective Comics stories and also the Robin stories, which I loved getting to revisit those because they was some of my favorite stories to read. But this was just a nice, like, to have it all collected in one story. I think there may be some, like, not all the stories are in here, but I think a good portion of them are, because I hadn't read the Catwoman or the Joker ones, even though I do actually own own those releases. But yeah, so I did read this one. I really enjoyed yeah, going through it in like in one collection. So I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. Yeah, I really did like reading this one. So you go, that is Batman 80 Years of the Bat Family. And then moving into the TV shows that I watched in April, which I didn't actually watch a lot of TV shows. Like, I mean, I watched episodes of TV shows here and there, but for the most part it was pretty much a movie watching month. But I did watch very randomly, I finally sat down and watched Dairy Girls on Netflix because I've been seeing so many memes about it and just, you know, clips on Facebook and things like that. And I was like, you know what, I'm finally going to sit down and watch Dairy Girls. And I binged it in 2 days because there was only like 12 episodes at the time. Series 3 is airing, which I believe is the last series. I think I'm just going to wait for all the episodes to come out though before I start watching that. But yeah, I loved every single moment of Dairy Girls. It's just like the humor is like so sarcastic, and yeah, it's just these situations they get up to is like so absurd, and yeah, I just love the characters, and yeah, it was a great show. Sister Michael is my favorite character. Just some of the lines she has is just, she sits like, whenever Sister Michael was, like when she had a scene, she was like, I always loved her moments. And yeah, because it's but yeah, the show itself is one of the best I've seen in a while, and like I don't know the last time I've actually sat and just, you know, binged something that quickly. It helped like they were only like 23-minute episodes, but I just flew through them, and yeah, it's 5 out of 5 stars for both seasons. Can't wait to watch season 3. So that was the TV shows that I finished in April. So I finally got around to watching Dairy Girls. And then for the two, I watched 2 movies that I didn't, like, I watched on streaming and I don't own in my own physical collection. So I finally got around to watching The French Dispatch. This was one I missed in the cinema, but it was on Disney Plus, so I decided to finally check it out. I was very pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed this one. I loved that it was like just like a story within a story, and yeah, just sort of how they told, like how they stylized the article, like how they were doing the final articles for this paper. And yeah, it was and it was also a lot funnier than what I was anticipating, because I haven't seen that many Wes Anderson movies. I think the only one I've seen is The Grand Budapest Hotel, and that's been a while since I've watched that. But I really enjoyed The French Dispatch, and yeah, it's I think my favourite story was the student revolution one, when they were I think that was the one where Tilda Swinton was playing like the older journalist, and yeah, that was I think that whole story arc was my favourite out of that. I loved her in those scenes with is it Timothy Chalamet? I can never pronounce his name, but yeah, I thought they were like brilliant in the scene, and yeah, it was like my favourite in the movie. But the other scenes were like really good as well, and yeah, I ended up giving this one 4.5 out of 5 stars. So I'm glad I finally got to watch The French Dispatch. And then I also watched The Adam Project on Netflix. I was a bit late to this one, but I'd been hearing pretty good things about this, and it's a time travel movie, so I thought I would check it out, because again, I also really liked the cast, so like Ryan Reynolds, Mark Ruffalo, and I had a good time watching this one. It's I thought it was actually, I wouldn't say necessarily a unique time travel movie, but I liked that the premise involved them having to go back in time to stop time travel being made. I did like that take on it, and yeah, it was just a fun action sci-fi movie, fun way to spend a couple of hours. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, so it's one I quite liked. So those were the movies that I watched via streaming that I do not own. And then I'll just quickly go through the movies that I saw at the cinema, because I managed to see 4 movies this past month, and they were all different movies. So first one that I watched was Sonic the Hedgehog 2. I enjoyed the first Sonic when I saw it at the cinema a couple of years ago, and yeah, I just really enjoy these films, and this one was also a fun action sci-fi film. I liked the new side characters, like Knuckles and is it Tails? Is that the character's name? So yes, I liked Sonic teaming up with like having this big team up, and then also the fight at the end was awesome. It reminded me so much of Power Rangers. I was getting massive Power Ranger vibes with that, but yes, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, it was fun. I think like some of the like the Hawaii stuff was probably really unnecessary, but it was nice sort of seeing like it was nice for a little while, but then yeah, I think it didn't really add that much to the story, and then we didn't really get a proper resolution to that either, so but overall, like, I still really enjoyed it. It's fun having Jim Carrey back as Dr. Robotnik, I think that's his character's name, but yeah, it was just, fun, and I think I didn't like it as much as the first one, but it was still an enjoyable sequel, so, and I hope there's a third one, which I imagine there's probably going to be another one, so I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. Yes, I did end up going to see Fantastic Beasts: Secrets of Dumbledore. My own personal feelings on the whole J.K. Rowling situation aside, I've seen every single Harry Potter movie in the cinema since Philosopher's Stone came out in 2001, and I've seen all the other Fantastic Beasts films, and yeah, and I thought, you know what, I'll go see it on Cheap Tuesday, that way I won't feel so bad going to see it, and I still actually quite liked this movie. I know there's talk they're not going to do the 4th and 5th one, which, to be honest, it should have been kept as the trilogy, because I remember back when these films were announced, it was supposed to be a trilogy, and yeah, and then they said, oh, it's going to be 5 movies, and I'm like, okay, and yeah, so parts 4 and 5 may not end up happening now, but I did think this ended, like, decently enough that it could be, like, considered a loose trilogy anyway, and also, yeah, with the whole Johnny Depp situation as well, because really conflicted on this one, because yeah, I did think he was really badly mistreated by Warner Brothers, and he didn't deserve to be fired over that. But I also really liked Mads Mikkelsen as Grindelwald as well, so really conflicted over that. But yes, it was still a decent film. If this is the last one that they make, it was a good way to wrap it up still. So I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. Then a film that wasn't initially on my radar, but it looked intriguing, so I went to see it, and that was The Northman. Which, because I knew this was by Robert Eggers, and he did The Lighthouse, which I sort of knew what I was getting into going into this one. Yeah, it was a very different movie. Like, it got really weird, and again, I suppose it's his style. Like, it was really good, but really, really weird. And but I think overall I did like this one. It's, yeah, very brutal, bloody, but I mean, I suppose it's a Vikings movie, so that's to be expected. But the cinematography was amazing in this film as well. So again, I gave The Northman 4 out of 5 stars. And the last movie that I saw in April at the cinema was The Lost City. I was intrigued to see this one, and yeah, it took me a couple of weeks to finally get around to it, but I'm glad I did go, because I had a lot of fun watching this in the cinema. It was just a nice action adventure film. Like, it's sort of one of those ones where you just leave your brain at the door for a couple of hours. And yeah, it was just fun, and yeah, seeing Daniel Radcliffe as the over-the-top villain, I did like that. And yeah, it was just yeah, it was just a fun ride, basically. I like Sandra Bullock in this as well, and yeah, it kind of reminded me a bit of like Romancing the Stone, at this sort of, like, with the you know, being the romance, like, author. But yeah, I just really liked this one. It was, yeah, so just a lot of fun, and yeah, it was just a good time at the cinema, basically. So I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars as well. And now we move into the movies that I watched out of my collection. So first up, I have Batman Hush. I've sort of been going through all my different Batman movies, and including the animated Batman films, and this is one of my favourites. I know it's very controversial, because this differs greatly from the source material, because the ending is very different to how it is in the comics, but I still love this. I love Batman and Catwoman's relationship in this one, and yeah, I always love watching this one. It's I don't know if I think I gave this one 4.5 out of 5 stars or a 5 out of 5 stars. It's like very close to 5 stars, if so. But yeah, I always love rewatching this one. So Batman Hush. And then a movie that I haven't seen in a very long time, I rewatched June 1984. This was very interesting to rewatch, considering obviously with the newer film that's come out, revisiting this one, it's like, just considering, like, this is, like, I think a bit over 2 hours, and how much they actually did manage to adapt into this movie. Like, there's some things that are changed and get left out, so it's not like a complete look into like adaptation of the like of the book. But I still think they did a pretty good job, like, back in the 80s, and I know this didn't do very well back when it was released, and I think David Lynch has pretty much disowned this film, but I enjoyed revisiting this one. So it's like a very trippy experience watching it, because I haven't actually seen any of David Lynch's other works, so this is the only film I've seen of his, but I still enjoyed it, so I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And it was also it's still very weird seeing Patrick Stewart in a sci-fi role before he was, when did this come out? Like 84? So it was like a few years off from when he was playing Captain Picard in The Next Generation. So, yes, I did watch June 1984. And then I finally rewatched The Sound of Music. It's been a few years since I've seen this one. But I was randomly in the mood to watch it, and yeah, it's still one of my favourite movies of all time. I really need to make an effort to watch this more, because I used to watch this one every year without fail, and last couple of years I just haven't been able to do it. Even though I did have to actually spread it over 2 viewings, because I think I'd come home from work and I don't know what shift I had, but I came home and I think I'd had one of my long shifts, and I was like, oh yeah, it's fine, I'll start watching The Sound of Music, and I basically got to intermission and then I had to turn it off because I was like, I can't stay awake. So I watched it over 2 nights, but it's fine, I still got it watched. Still a great movie, 5 out of 5 stars. So. And then I continued on with the live action Batman rewatching, and I watched Batman Returns. I keep forgetting how creepy the beginning of Batman Returns is, because I'm sort of watching it and I'm like, this is really unsettling, which I suppose that's the whole purpose when they're setting up the Penguin's origin story, but yeah, it's just sort of watching that whole thing and you're like, this is really, really creepy, but it's still great to revisit this one, even though I think Batman 1989 is actually still my favourite of the, of the 90s films in general, and also the Tim Burton ones, because I think some people may prefer Batman Returns, but well, I do like the Penguin and Catwoman in this one, and you know that it's like set at Christmas time and all of that. Yeah, I think I just prefer the first one, but it's still a great sequel, and yeah, it's been a few years since I've revisited this, so Batman Returns gets 4 out of 5 stars. Then I rewatched Sonic the Hedgehog in preparation for seeing Sonic 2. Yeah, it was just as much fun revisiting this as when I saw it in the cinema, because I hadn't seen it since I saw it at the cinema, so it was well overdue for a rewatch. But yeah, I just like the action, the humour. It's got a lot of these films have a lot of heart to them, and yeah, I just really and also really love Sonic. So yeah, so this was just, you know, fun time revisiting this one. So Sonic the Hedgehog. Then I happened to rewatch a few of my 4Ks, so I rewatched Dune Part 1. This looks fantastic on 4K, and yeah, I think I also like this one a bit more than when I saw it at the cinema, so I just really enjoyed watching it, and yeah, it's I can't wait for part 2 when that's released, but just beautiful looking film, great, like just sort of seeing, because it's very, because having rewatched the 1984 one, just sort of seeing where they were able to take the story and just like sort of branch it out a bit more, because obviously they're not, because they split it into 2 parts and not, they had more like wriggle room with this one, so yeah, so the point of the film that they stopped it at, but yeah, it was definitely something I enjoyed a bit more on rewatch, which yeah, so I think which, yeah, because it's sort of funny, because Dune was one of my like most anticipated movies of the last 2 years, and I don't know if I hyped it up way too much in my head, and that's sort of why I wasn't as like, I didn't love it as much as I did, but I think the more I rewatch it, the more I'll come to definitely enjoy it more. So it's still a 4 out of 5 stars, just I was like expecting this to be like my favourite movie of the year, but it's not quite up there with one of my favourites yet, but still a very good film, so Dune Part 1, and then I rewatched my 4K of the Avengers 2012. I don't really need an excuse to watch this one, it's just that I hadn't watched the 4K, like my recently acquired 4K copy, because one of the few exceptions I'm making for upgrading my like if I double dip on a title on 4K, yeah, I always have a good time watching this one. You know how much I love this film since it came out in 2012. It's one of my most watched movies as well, so it's just one that I can just randomly put on and enjoy watching. So Avengers 2012, 5 out of 5 stars. I've talked about that one a lot, so and then on Good Friday I watched Jesus Christ Superstar. It's my, you know, Good Friday movie of choice. Most people go for the 10 Commandments. I go for Jesus Christ Superstar. And I always love watching this musical, so yeah, it's very interesting directing choices, because it's like obviously made in the 70s, but I think it grows on me every single time I rewatch this, and yeah, I just love putting it on and watching it around Good Friday, or on Good Friday. So I gave this I don't know if it's, again, it's not one of my, where it's like 4.5 to 5 stars. It's like, I just always enjoy watching this movie, so I think I gave it 5 stars on my most recent rewatch. So Jesus Christ Superstar 1973, I finally finished my Star Wars rewatch, and this is the first time that I've actually watched all the films in 1 year, because I sort of started and then I stopped, and then I just decided to start from The Phantom Menace back in January, and in April I finally finished with The Rise of Skywalker. I still love this, like the sequel films, even though The Force Awakens is still my favourite, but so I think my order goes Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and Rise of Skywalker. I did like sort of how they wrapped up the trilogy, even with all the Palpatine stuff, but yeah, I still just love sort of seeing like these characters going on a final outing, and yeah, I don't know, I don't really have much, because I think it's like, I can see why some people obviously wouldn't like the direction that the sequels went in, but I liked the sequels for what they were. And I also really enjoyed watching them at the cinema. And yeah, just sort of like, they're still 5 out of 5 stars for me, so I really enjoy watching these. But and I realised I'm holding up the wrong movie, but it was The Rise of Skywalker. I think I grabbed the, yeah, anyway, did watch Rise of Skywalker. I just realised I grabbed The Force Awakens instead, but I know what I'm talking about, so, but yes, Rise of Skywalker I did watch in April, so it was nice to finally finish another franchise, so go. And then I also watched, close to Easter, I watched Easter Parade, because it's been quite a while since I've seen this. This is just a fun, wholesome musical. Fred Astaire and Judy Garland are great in this, and yeah, I love the songs. It's just a good time watching this one, so I have to make it more of an annual viewing around Easter, so Easter Parade, 4 out of 5 stars. And then I decided to watch a few more of my 4Ks, and I decided to go with Top Gun, because obviously the sequel is hopefully coming out in May, because it's obviously been one of those ones that's meant to come out in 2020, and it's been pushed back all this time, so, but at this point it's meant to be out in, well, at the time I'm filming this, because we are in May, so it should be out at the end of this month. So hopefully in May's wrap up I will have seen Top Gun Maverick. But yeah, I've only seen this one the one time, because I watched this in 2019 in preparation for at that point seeing Top Gun Maverick, which I think was meant to come out in like the first half of 2020, and obviously that didn't happen. But yeah, it was very interesting revisiting this because, yeah, I do enjoy this movie. I just think, they wouldn't make certain, like, even though, yes, it was sort of awkward, like, watching it with the, relationship between, like, oh, I can't remember the teacher's name, but yeah, just that whole relationship. Yes, they're both consenting adults, but I don't know, it's still very weird, and you could tell it was like, I think the whole film's like a product of its time, so I'm very curious to see how Top Gun Maverick goes in this one, because, yeah, I think certain elements of this film, like, if it was to be remade, it wouldn't get, like, it would be, like, quite controversial, I think, now, but, it was still a good film. It's still liked, revisiting it, so I gave Top Gun 4 out of 5 stars, and then, of course, had to rewatch SpiderMan No Way Home. I loved this movie, my favourite movie of last year. It was just epic, and yeah, I loved every single minute of it, and just, yeah, I can't wait for Doctor Strange on Thursday. I'll be seeing it, so, just, yeah, because seeing all this, like, just sort of the hint of the multiverse in, this film, I can't wait for, like, a whole film about the multiverse, so, but yes, Spider-Man No Way Home, 5 out of 5 stars. And then the last 3 movies that I have to talk about. So I've started a rewatch of Jurassic Park, because I want to rewatch the franchise before Jurassic World Dominion comes out next month, so, and it's been, I think, a few years since I've seen the Jurassic Park film, so it was just great revisiting, Jurassic Park, just even just the first one, because, just sort of seeing where this film, series began, and, yeah, it's, with all the dinosaurs and just everything, I still love the whole park initial, like, park tour, and they're waiting to see dinosaurs, and there's no dinosaurs to be seen. I do love that whole aspect of it, so, but, yeah, I can also see how people, because I didn't watch this movie until I was 26, so I didn't watch it when I was a kid, even though it came out when I was 6, so I would have been probably in that target audience initially. But I can sort of see how people would be terrified of this movie, because you're sort of watching it and it's like, oh, parts of this is actually really, really creepy, so, but yeah, it was a great film to revisit, so I gave 4 out of 5 stars. Then I rewatched one of my favourite films of 2017, Atomic Blonde. This was just, yeah, this is just a blast from start to finish. It's a great action spy thriller. And yeah, it's just sort of in the last few days of the Cold War, and yeah, you don't know what the hell's going on, like who's working for who, and I sort of just love how you get that final reveal, and you sort of have a bit of, like, fourth wall breaking as well, and yeah, this is just, and I hadn't watched this in a, few years, but it was great revisiting it, so, Atomic Blonde, 4.5 out of 5 stars. And then the last film that I watched in April was also continuing on with my live action Batman rewatch. I rewatched Batman Forever, which is actually, like, because it's one of the films I've seen the least, but it grows on me each time I find myself watching it. So I did a rewatch of these films, I think in 2020, and I really enjoyed Batman Forever then, and I think I enjoyed it just as much now. I love that we finally get, like, a live action Robin in the Batman movies, and I really hope we get I know obviously Robin or Nightwing's in the live action Titans TV show, but I just want to see sort of Batman and Robin team up, just, you know, just to sort of see like how they would do in, like, a I guess, an updated version. And yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's so campy and ridiculous and over the top, especially, I mean, I suppose you got Jim Carrey as the Riddler and also Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face. I just love that the pairing is so absurd and ridiculous, but it was a lot of fun, and yeah, I'm really glad that I've yeah, been rewatching like the Batman movies, because gotten just how much I do love this franchise. So Batman Forever gets 4 out of 5 stars. And there we have it. That is everything I watched in the month of April. I'm hoping to actually get more TV shows watched in May, because this month ended up being quite a like movie focused month, but I think that's just sort of where I like felt like watching like a lot of movies, and I think because I could also watch some, like I had access to the 4K TV and player, so I was able to watch some 4Ks. I think that's sort of why I was focusing more on the movies this month, but I know obviously coming into May, TV shows will be having their season finales, so hopefully I can get caught up on different shows and finish them relatively quickly, because I've fallen behind on a lot of my TV shows, but that's nothing new with me. But we'll see how many I can get watched this coming month. So, but yeah, I'm gonna stop it here. So thank you guys for watching, and until my next video, I will see you guys next time. Bye!